So today we have Warren Mabee with us. Thank you so much for being here. He's an assistant professor in the geography department here at Queen's.
Happy Earth Day, everybody. The whole thrust of this talk is that energy policy is environmental policy. Canada has done an awful lot on energy policy and not very much on environmental policy. At least that is the perception that most people have. I think that it's hurting us around the world. It's hurt our reputation. I think that it's something that a lot of Canadians are very disturbed about. So really I wanted to talk about energy policy and climate policy in the Canadian context. You know, we have a lot of energy policy in Canada, different policies, different initiatives underway. And energy seems to be on everybody's thoughts right now, you know, with discussions about pipelines and discussions about oil development. It's a hot topic for Canada. Climate policy is also, you know, something that we should be thinking about, particularly on Earth Day. And there's a perception that Canada really hasn't done so well on climate policy over the years. You know, we've had targets, but we've never really been able to meet those targets. We have some targets that are in place now for 2020. It looks as though we're going to have difficulty meeting those. What I wanted to talk about is how energy policy and climate policy really are one and the same thing. And maybe that can give us a bit of clarity moving forward. We haven't figured out how these wonderful new technologies can best serve us. We haven't really discovered all of the negative ramifications associated with renewables. I think we have to recognize that there are ramifications no matter what energy source we pick. One of the big challenges we have in Ontario is the Green Energy Act has created a lot of controversy, a lot of strong feelings on both sides, people who love it, who think that we've done exactly the right thing, people who really don't like it. You know, the development of particularly wind farms and solar farms has been controversial. There have been people who are just not happy with the way that government has approached it. And you've heard the opposition party talk about using the Green Energy Act as really kind of a wedge issue, you know, that if they were brought into power, they would look at canceling some of the projects that are in the pipeline, you know, changing the way that the act is working, maybe even getting rid of it altogether. It's difficult to say what they would actually do if they were elected, but clearly it's a very big topic right now. On a per capita basis, we use a bit more energy than most other countries in the world. We're either number 1 or number 2 or number 3, depending on whose stats you believe. Some people put Saudi Arabia at number 1. Saudi Arabia uses a huge amount of energy. Some people put the States at number 1. Some people put us at number 1 in terms of per capita energy use. We're certainly higher, usually by a factor of 2 or 3 over European counterparts, which tells us that we could have a perfectly fine standard of living with much less energy consumption, because people in Europe don't have a substantially lower standard of living compared to people here. Well, I think one of the big benefits that's come with the Green Energy Act, Green Energy, Green Economy Act, is that it's focused a lot of our attention on new energy sources in Ontario. You know, we've seen wind and solar come online. We've had quite a lot of discussion about different forms of energy. I think it's brought the issue back into people's minds, and that's important because we're going to face some big decisions in coming years about nuclear reactors. Do we rebuild, refurbish them? Do we shut them down? Do we build a new one? Do we move things around? You know, it's going to be expensive, whatever we do, and it's good if the people are well informed and if they've thought about this. The other thing that I think is really important to remember is that the Green Energy Act focuses on renewable technologies, and those technologies are moving very quickly. So what cost $2 a few years ago costs $1 today. The costs are coming down dramatically. New technologies are coming online for energy storage, better batteries, and better power management. We're looking at some big, large-scale storage for energy, pump storage. Things are really changing, developing quickly in the Ontario context. It's an exciting time. And then finally, we should complement the U.S. in Canadian energy policy. We are joined at the hip, but there's no need for us to follow blindly. You know, if Too much Canadian energy policy is us waiting for President Obama or President Bush or President Clinton or whoever to come up with an answer. And we really should be developing our own take on things. I think the next step is to continue on the trend that we're on. And you know, one of the things I always remind my students of is that it's not an us versus them thing. You know, it's not renewables on one side, fossil fuel over here. They've got to work together, particularly in the short to midterm. You know, we're not going to get rid of all the fossil energy out there. We need to make wise investments. We need to think about the energy that's going to take us forward. And that means investing more and more in sustainable energy solutions, whether it's better energy storage, whether it's more efficient solar panels. All of these things are going to move us in the direction that we want to go, which is really towards a future where energy prices are very stable, very predictable, towards a future where we're very competitive with other nations and jurisdictions around the world, where we can offer really clean energy. You know, maybe it won't be perfectly green. We might still have some non-renewables mixed in there, but we'll be greener than most. That's going to be an advantage for us. It's going to be a competitive advantage. And if we play our cards right, I think it could really work out in our favor. Thank you.